Which sister would you have help bury a body with you?
Chandler.
I would just break down.
Would crack.
I would crumble so fast.
Yeah.
I would go turn myself in before I'd even helped.
Lauren, she's got enough of like anti-government. Like, first of all, they don't deserve to know. The person had it coming.
Well, we are here with a very special episode of Pop Apologists. It is no secret that Wyatt, our brother-in-law, is one of our favorite people on God's green earth, okay? And we are so happy to have you in studio today.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the podcast.
This is a real thrill for me because I've been watching you do this from afar for so long.
Yeah.
And occasionally dipping a toe, but this feels like going to the spa together.
Yeah.
To see you in this arena, like in the studio, filming this way, like this is so cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you both.
I imagine it's like watching a Major League Baseball player at bat.
Oh yeah, but it was just like you guys used to be like bunting the plastic
know.
ball in the backyard, and now you're in those.
I mean, you've been on the podcast before, and I distinctly remember like one of those early episodes where we begged you and Courtney to come on, and it was like, okay, you guys go in one room find some wired headphones, share a computer, like just so scrappy. So it feels good to have you, in a proper setup with us.
No, it's so fun. It's so cool. I'm excited to be here.
Wyatt, one of the reasons that we're obsessed with you is we just feel like you are one of the most grounded, like good people we know. Like I have said, if I find out that you have fallen in this world, okay, similar to Tim McGraw, I don't think I'll be here much longer. Okay. And I'll just put it gently.
Okay.
Because there are just some truths for me and Chandler. Like Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, their love is true.
Is true.
Real.
Right?
Yeah.
Like in Nashville, it's just the two of them. Okay.
Right.
No eyes for anyone else.
No eyes for anyone else.
And you, Wyatt Grow, are a good, wonderful man, a loving husband, and just, I think, one of the people that we know who just has really incredible values and is a
It's true.
good person.
I mean, I'll just say too, this weekend, a couple days ago, Ben and I asked you if you would marry us. So, and taking a page out of Lauren's book because you married Lauren, just, that should hopefully say how much we love you and trust you.
That was such a beautiful and sweet moment. I just love. I love the way that you asked me. I'm beyond flattered to have been asked, but I just thought it was adorable and tender, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was really sweet, and I wasn't anticipating how emotional it was going to be for Ben and I in it. So anyway, it was very special, and we're very excited.
I'm excited too.
Anyway, enough about my wedding.
Let's actually talk more. Okay, what's the vibe? What's the Pinterest?
Let's talk about my colors, the vibe. No, we're here to talk with Wyatt. The listeners actually have quite a lot of questions for you because you're kind of a mysterious guy, but also like beloved, but mysterious.
Any interest that the listeners would have has to have been ginned up by the two of you, which is
Probably.
fine. Like this should put it to bed. Like I'm sure there won't be like a round two. They will have heard everything this guy has to say.
Well, I think we should also touch on the fact that you are married to Courtney Grow.
Oh, yeah.
Also a known person.
I wonder if anyone is like listening, like, well, who's this guy? Why do they care so much if he's
Courtney
like
Bledsoe,
fallen?
right?
Yeah.
Maybe they need to know that she was once
A Bledsoe. So our sister, Courtney Bledsoe, now Courtney Grow, is married to the man to my left, Wyatt Grow. And that is why he is such an important figure in our life. Also, you guys have been married for quite a long time, and you've been in our life for quite a long time, since I was 11.
Born in 95.
95? Was I 11 or 12?
So
14?
Courtney and I, our first date was 2007, end of the year. And then I wouldn't have like come home to meet the family and this important baby sister till like 2008. So 13,
okay, yeah. 13, yeah.
12-ish, 13?
Yeah. I mean, I remember the whisperings about you before I'd even met you.
Well, I met Wyatt very early on into the courtship, okay? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Were you there on our first? You weren't there the night I picked her up for our first
Not
date.
the first date,
but
I
it
remember
was extremely early.
extremely early. We went to, I remember hearing the whisperings about your family and their esteemed holdings.
The waterfall?
Yeah, the waterfall.
We've gotten a lot of mileage out of that water.
I remember.
It's still impressive to me.
I was riding in the car with Courtney and her girlfriends, and we were chatting, and I guess I embarrassed her because I was like, it was just the girlfriends chatting. And I'm like, yeah, I heard his family owns a waterfall. And Courtney's like, shut up. We're playing it cool, bitch.
My dad has a Courtney waterfall story, because when we ended up like selling it, we sold it to the Utah County, right? And he has the story of like the meeting wasn't going so well with the county commissioners. Yeah. And he has told this numerous times in all sorts of company. Like the meeting was kind of going okay.
Okay.
And then Courtney walked in the room and he's like, one of the commissioners was so taken by Courtney that his head just kind of like everything was just like, yes. It all just turned like,
it was like,
yep, no problem.
Bazinga.
Yes. Yeah. He credits her with just like smoothing that deal right over the finish line.
I mean, I know Courtney's a beautiful woman, but I didn't know she could woo a county commissioner.
I know, truly. That's
Can't she
impressive.
do?
We could get her in front of a planning commission.
Literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's introduce her to your super.
Please. Oh, actually, a quick story. I ran into him this morning, and I will just confirm to everyone that his phone screen is a woman with 5 inches of vertical cleavage.
You're super.
My super, the man who runs our building.
Is that all the way up to the neck? Or
I'm going to say low. It starts low and it goes low. And it only goes lower. And that's his home screen. That's like where all of his apps live.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, he'd love to meet Courtney. I'll put it that way.
I want to start with some personal questions. I think to lay the groundwork of our dynamics and our relationships, right? And kind of a good pivot from where we just were, because people have asked what your first impressions of us were. And so when you first,
Sure. As you said, we got to read each other really, really early on. Normally, I feel like I'm pretty good at like bringing the audience along, so to speak, in terms of like the girl I'm dating and the little sister, like having a good relationship. I felt like you were so consumed at that time by
Here we go.
something else. And I actually want to say it was a specific hot gay guy in Provo.
Oh, yes.
You were like,
I think that was one of my...
lusting over Brandon.
Yeah, there was a man named Brandon. His voice was so deep. I just remember
beautiful, deep voice. And he was extremely handsome, very tall. Everything going for
Were
him.
you trying to woo this man, or
I just
you didn't know that he was gay, or he was closeted, or
He must have been closeted, and I just couldn't handle what his presence did to my body. Clearly.
Truly. No, I couldn't. I like could not get Lauren to like engage with me because she was so. He wasn't in the room or anything. He just existed.
he wasn't in the room.
No, him existing was enough for her to be so distracted that I couldn't connect.
Yeah, I was pretty boy crazy, and I do have the tastes in men of a gay man. So
It's true. You've always said that you have high tolerance for male beauty.
Yeah. Okay.
You do have a very high tolerance.
So I was pretty shallow and distracted when you met me. That was
Hagen's
the first
hot.
impression.
You married hot. Like hot, marry hot.
Okay.
You're a woman of your word.
I'm a woman of my word. What was your first impression of Chandler?
Okay, specifically of Chandler.
I don't remember the first time we met.
I feel like this is in your peace and alliances era of life.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always in my peace and alliance era.
Real sweet, real accommodating. I really feel like you started to turn a corner like 15.
Turn a
years
corner
old?
just being more interesting.
Yeah.
What corner was
No,
turned
it was just
exactly?
like, I mean, the interests of like a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old versus a 15-year-old, it comes a long way.
Totally.
Towards, I was like, what, mid-late 20s by that time? It's a lot more. Like maybe you've got an explicit album or two in the closet, whereas before it would have been.
I went from being like Beehive president to like a Strokes fan.
Yeah.
Like I just
maybe you had something to talk to the bishop
totally.
about.
I probably did. Yeah.
But like during those were really great years for us. You've always been obviously amazing and charming, but I felt like you got funnier and more willing to share details of your life with me.
Yeah.
And so it just got more real and more fun, and I loved it.
I remember you, like, it was just funny because I had a crush on someone in high school, and I just remember like me and Courtney like talking shop about like my crush, like anyway, so important years.
Crowdsourcing those types of things has always been one of my favorite activities.
I have a funny story about, around the time Courtney was dating you. I remember, I'm just thinking about this trip I took to Utah, okay? Courtney worked at, it's called the Flower Shop. The Flower Basket. And it had some gorgeous Free People clothing and French Connection. Those are her brands of choice back in the day. Very cute stuff, but expensive for us. And I remember we were sitting over lunch one day and we were talking about it, and we were like, better clothes is an investment in your future because you're probably going to get a better guy if you look better. And that was the girl mathing we were doing at 14 and 19. And that worked out, right?
Worked out for her. I mean, I swear she has like an opinion of what she's wearing our first date, but I think it was like a homemade skirt. Her friend was making skirts at the time. And I think she was wearing one of the homemade skirts on our very first date. So I was never too focused on
homemade skirts.
So you thought you were meeting a pioneer woman.
Ballerina
in a way, yes. It was that sort of, maybe we'll get a ranch.
Skirt.
Maybe. She should have been doing sourdough starters a decade before anyone else.
I know.
That Willa could already be part of the Grow family empire.
Absolutely.
Quick thing, I do remember the French Connection era of Courtney's life, and I had a different mentality. I was definitely in my very devout era, and I just remember like on French Connection shirts, sometimes it would be like FC UK, and I just remember like mom and I exchanging glances when like Courtney was wearing something, or Courtney wanted to go into a French Connection store maybe when we were in San Francisco, I want to say. Anyway, and both mom and I just kind of exchanging like we live in a fallen world type of glances.
Well, this was
Courtney's a part of the fallen world.
This was a special moment because our older sister Ash had definitely fallen at this moment. She had discovered, the delights of psychedelics as a 25-year-old, and she would grace us with long maxi dresses with mushroom appliques. I don't know if you remember this. When she would visit home from college. Quite a cast of characters.
Yeah.
In the Bledsoe home. But anyway, we should probably get to our listeners and their quandaries, right?
Please.
Sure.
So it's about 2:00 my time. Okay. And I have a big night tonight. I'm going out. We're going to a concert. And I know that I'm going to be like fully indulging later on. So I'm going to crack open a Clean Simple Eats Clear Protein because, I just want to eat healthy until I, really don't eat healthy. You know what I'm saying?
The thing I love about Clean Simple Eats Clear Protein is it's just that really delicious, hydrating protein fuel that your body needs, but it's so light. So you're right. If you're going to have a heavy meal later in the day, or you already did have one, it's just a good way to get some good, clean energy. It's 90 calories, 20 grams of clean, grass-fed protein. These drinks, they're the beverage of the season.
No, they're incredible. Truly a genius innovation. I recommend, sipping on your clear protein with a lot of ice. I let it kind of get a little watered down, and then I just kind of slowly sip on it throughout my afternoon, and it keeps me totally nourished, keeps my energy levels high. Can't say enough good things about it.
Everyone, go to cleansimpleeats.com, get their clear protein. You will absolutely love these drinks. It's the perfect way to fuel your body with the protein it needs in a truly light, gorgeous, refreshing way.
Use code POPAPOLOGIST10 at checkout for 10% off your order. That's code POPAPOLOGIST10 at checkout.
Okay, I think that this goes perfectly with what we were just talking about because we're talking about your and Courtney's courtship, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you were sussing out if she was the right woman for you, okay? And someone wants to know, they say, how do I push my boyfriend to make that same decision, to propose? In a tasteful way. We talk about it. I just want it to happen ASAP.
Okay. Well, ideally, as a inexperienced advice giver, so to speak, me and this person should get lunch together, and then we can really go back and forth.
Right.
How to push the guy. So in my experience, I was always really reluctant to take any decision that couldn't easily be walked back. Right. So commitment issues, not because it wasn't like I wanted to date other people or play the field in that way. It was just like, once you do that, you can't undo it very easily. And that was what made me nervous. So Courtney was great. We did have like a really short, like a breakup of about 3 hours when we'd been seriously dating for like 8 months. And she's just like, is this going to marriage? Like basically, if I want you to tell me now if we're going to get married or not. So we can just call it off or keep going.
Right.
And I was just like, I really like you. I really enjoy doing this, but I'm not ready to say that is for sure where it's headed.
Yeah.
And I also like in terms of, I know. So then she's like, well, then I guess this is over. And I'm like, oh, I guess so. Like we really still like each other, but I guess. And so she left and she was crying, and I left my phone charger at her house. And so she had like an hour or two there at the house. And apparently she was like furiously packing and called your mom for a plane ticket, which I'm sure Deb was more than happy to buy at that point in time. But I texted her before she could leave, and I'm like, hey, I need to come get my phone charger. And she answered the text or said, okay, come get it. And then just getting in the door again, seeing her talking again, reconciled immediately, never broke up again. Like that was the only wobble in our relationship.
Well, it was a big drama that you wanted to wait a whole year before proposing.
I know. It was a big drama.
How dare you?
I know.
How crazy about her.
Crazy about was the operative term that I was, anyways. But okay, so in order to get a man to move to proposal, I guess I would be interested to know, like, if this is a person who's like, feels like there's a lot to discover still. Maybe these are people who are waiting for marriage to have sex.
Yeah.
And they're both intrigued and curious, like, is that going to affect our relationship?
I think they've already had sex. We can assume.
They're sexually active? Okay.
So.
No, I just think they may still be investigating. I don't know how long it is, but not a lot is going to change. Did you find there were big changes in your relationship post-proposal versus living together beforehand?
I think that's a really good point. I think that a lot of times people like say like, oh, after you get married, X person will let themselves go or they'll just start X, Y, and Z. And I think you can get too comfortable. I think you can kind of like have to work to maintain the energy that's like really wanting to care for the other person a little bit. Like some of that initial shine kind of wears off. You get used to each other, right? But other than that, no, I don't think that much changes at all.
Yeah, very much the same. So I would caution whoever this person is, if they feel that slapping a label of fiance on it is going to improve things or do a ton. That lasts for maybe like a week, 2 weeks of this new upgrade to the relationship. But then it's just the regular stuff. But if everything is great between them and all that is waiting is the formality of proposal and marriage, then I don't know. She should propose.
I mean,
Very progressive.
I don't know.
It's going to be a great soundbite for the pod.
But if there is no longer any doubt, so to speak, about it, then I think she could put her foot down and say, these are the reasons why I want to get engaged now so that we can be married by this time so that, have some reasons. And because she said we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So
I do think sometimes as well, like guys just maybe drag their feet a little bit. It's like they got to buy a ring. It's just like a whole process.
it is a whole.
And so
and
there might need to be a slight timetable on it.
And I think a lot of people, like, I kind of dread like Courtney's birthday, for example, or an anniversary
For the podcast.
But I know that I'm probably going to let her down, right? Like, even if I try to do something that is romantic and whatever, I feel like in some ways it's going to be insufficient.
Interesting.
And he could be having these same worries. Like, I'm not going to come up with a creative way to propose. I won't do it in the right like spot. And it could be even just some of those boring details of where and like which flowers are there.
Logistics.
The logistics that are daunting, that could be a hiccup too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I essentially planned my own proposal.
Yes.
And I think that was not that I didn't plan it, but I had a lot of rules and regulations. It was heavily regulated. And I do think that was maybe helpful to Ben. I don't know. I just think that like, yeah, maybe they need to have a conversation about what that looks like to her. Does it need to be some grandiose thing or does it not?
Right.
Because maybe there is an expectation.
I think it's hard for most couples, right? Like, I think for most couples, there is a little bit of that friction to get over the line to the proposal. And it's generally not like just Jet and Pookie, a surprise in Hawaii and Maui.
Are you still holding them up by like, do you still love Pookie and Jet?
I love Pookie.
I mean, I think they're great. They do not hold a Tim McGraw, Faith Hill luster for me. But I love it.
They don't hold the same shine, but I am very enamored with their love for each other, okay? And I would not call Kagan a Jet in terms of the way he,
holds you out and kind of
one.
Twirls you for all the eyes to see.
Right, exactly. Brings me flowers and Chick-fil-A in bed, that sort of vibe. We're not there yet. And so anyway, it's a fun thing to watch on my Instagram. But no, just to wrap this up, I do think that it's important to feel like you can talk to your partner about this and say, hey, like, I do have a timeline. I do want to organize my life in this way. I do want to do this. And if you're in a place where you don't feel like you can really have that conversation and have action taken after and have that respect, that almost is like a red flag about how comfortable you are with this person.
Yeah, or maybe you need to sort of push through some of those conversations that might like take a little bit of the magic out of it, where you're like, hey, I want to get proposed to in the next year because I'm thinking about biology, or, we got a lot of weddings next year. I'd like to show up there with a ring on my finger. Stuff like that. I think that you should push through, have those conversations, even if it takes a little bit of like the surprise magic out of it. You'll feel more relieved. You'll feel like you're actually on the same page.
For sure.
Anyway.
Okay, next question, Wyatt. So we're going to reveal something about your life, okay?
Love surprises.
And about Courtney's life.
Yeah.
So back in the day, when you and Courtney were first married, I remember Courtney's clothing budget was $800 a month. And this was excessive.
And we're allowed to share this. We're allowed to share the...
I don't know if we're going to keep this in.
Okay.
Well, let's put it in, and let's put it in real. It was an appearance budget. So it also was to include hair, nails, etc.
Appearance, yeah.
Because I didn't want to be like, this is clothes, and then like get into the weeds. It was just like anything related to maintaining the temple is under the appearance budget.
Was this her American flag credit card too? I don't know why that.
Oh,
I have a
like
Zions Bank.
Ambank
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh,
I
have no
remember which
idea.
card was that.
But yeah, it was the appearance budget.
Yeah,
and it was $1,000.
So there's a lot of questions about Courtney's spending. So this is kind of a tailored personal one, given my knowledge. Is Courtney's clothing budget or appearance budget still $800 a month?
It's $1,000. Yes.
We have upgraded.
Yeah, it's $1,000 a month. And
she's so
the other thing, it's just it's governmental. It's pork from the other departments. That's where you find the money to make the purchases you need.
No, so someone wants to know, do you get nervous about Courtney's spending?
Oh, I mean, first of all, to preserve any shred of credibility I have to say, yes, of course I get nervous about Courtney's spending sometimes. But at the same time, Titanic was way over budget. And it's the largest grossing movie of all time.
Oh, I thought you meant like the ship.
No, I'm talking about the James Cameron masterpiece. Went way over budget, and it crushed it. And that's kind of been her trajectory. Way over budget and crushing it.
No, I think that here's the thing about Courtney. Courtney has always been like Lehigh, a visionary woman. Okay.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. She sees the
Soraya complex on her.
Courtney has always been like ahead of the curve, has known like what's worth it. And Courtney's in an amazing place in life. And
totally.
Not because she's played it small.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
It's just like a yes mentality. It's been great.
Yeah, it's a yes mentality. And I think that without that, I don't think she'd be where she is today.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's all baked in, right? It's a dash of this and a sprinkle of that. And like, it all works out to be who she is.
It does. It certainly does. And we reap the benefits of those.
We sure do.
The gravy train.
And I love watching you guys like reap those benefits. Yeah, it's so fun.
Chan, I just have to tell you, I woke up in the middle of the night last night with a little bit of anxiety. I had half an early bird gummy, and I swear to you, within 30 minutes, I was peacefully dozing off. Early bird CBD gummies are magic. They're truly magic.
They're literally magic. I don't want to travel without them. I don't want to be without them.
I think it's the 12.5 milligrams of CBD, 2.5 milligrams of THC. It's that little cocktail. It gives you the warmest, gooeyest, fuzziest feeling. It feels so good. It's so light. Also, one bottle lasts so long. It's a lot of product.
Also, I feel like I prefer it to drinking at this point.
Absolutely. You guys go to earlybirdcbd.com, use code POPAPOLOGIST20 for 20% off your order. You will not regret it.
Earlybirdcbd.com, use code POPAPOLOGIST20.
Okay, someone wants to also know, pivoting towards children away from fashion.
Sure.
They say, what do you wish you would have known before having children?
There are things that you should know. Like, it is very obvious that this is a lifetime commitment. Like, this does not relent. But the unrelentingness of it is sometimes a little jarring. But it's really great. I don't know. What should they know about having children? I mean, yeah, everything changes. And it's also fine that everything changes.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, life is enjoyable before kids. It's enjoyable after kids, hopefully.
It really is.
Yeah. You have to find a way to make it so. And it is a little more difficult than always chasing your own personal joy. Mm-hmm. But everything changes, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I actually asked you this question, or I was getting to it the other night when we were all chatting, but the question that someone sent in is, how did you know you were ready to have kids? This person says, my husband and I are both on the fence, but I'm worried we will regret it if we don't. Do you feel like everything changed when you had kids? You answered that part a little bit, but like, when do you feel like you were ready? What should you look for to know that you're ready? And maybe it's just you're never ready.
Well, there are so many limitations to like my ability to answer this questions, but because I always knew that was the program for me from day one.
Yeah.
Like there are just like certain lessons about life that you learn from an early age. And mine was obviously that I was going to have a family.
Yeah.
Of course. Like it was never a thought to not.
Yeah.
Really.
So given that background, like what was the phrasing?
They said, how did you know you were ready to have kids?
How did I know I was ready?
And maybe what would you say to someone who's like, because I think I'm in the same boat where it's like, I know I'm going to have kids. I don't really see a world where I don't have kids.
Right.
I just don't know when I'm ever going to feel ready. And what should I look for to know that I'm
Honestly,
ready?
there's like there was a certain naivete since no was never on the table. It's just like, well, when?
Yeah.
It wasn't if, it was when is the only question. Frequently, I think the answer is, well, we might as well get started. We might as well just start now.
I think also living in Utah, like it was kind of the sea you swam in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and like both of the families that we come from, 6 in yours, 7 in mine.
Yeah.
It was just obvious that was the way to do you get married so that you can have kids, so you can have a life that looks a lot like what you've come from.
Well, and I think just like similar to us, we love our family life. Like our family life is something that we really enjoy. We take a lot of pleasure in. You have a great family. They spend a lot of time together.
Right.
You know, it's every week dinners. It's the thread that is weaved through the tapestry of our lives. You know, the golden thread.
Quoting Courtney.
And so I think that some people don't have that, you know, unfortunately. But I think that, you know, one of the charming things about you is like from the beginning, you always wanted a big family, because I feel like you wanted that similar thing. You wanted the big dinners when you were older. You wanted to have like people surrounding everyone, you know?
Well, and the thing about the big family, I actually, now that I'm a parent, I'm like, oh, this isn't having more kids, going from like, we went from 2 to 4 in one swing, right?
Yeah.
But even before we had the twins, and given the fact that we use IVF, that was kind of something under our control. But like, we knew that we were doing the more kids for the existing kids. It wasn't for Courtney and I. Like, I was a dad. I was already sure of it. You know, I was a girl dad. I was a boy dad. That was great. But to give your kids a sibling, like just look at, I mean, the two of you and plus Courtney, plus Ash, plus McCall, plus Nick, like everybody, having those people in your life that will never be out of your life is the most wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the gift. Like, to give more children so that they have a sibling and a companion through life who shares so much, who shares family vacations. And there's nothing, I think, more valuable than that. And so that's what, at least that part of it was about. I can't even remember how that ties back to the question.
No, I think that's interesting that it wasn't necessarily for, like, you and Courtney weren't like, oh, we, you know.
I need more, to feel actualized, I need more kids.
Right.
No, I didn't need more kids for that. I wasn't opposed to it, but it became very clear of like, oh no, this is a gift you give your other children.
I guess another question regarding like having kids when it's the right time, I guess speak more to like this idea that like everything will change and that's okay. I find a lot of comfort in that, because I think there's a very real part of me that's like, when do we blow up our lives and have a child?
Right.
You know, when do we decide like our comforts are going to be interrupted all the time and it's not going to be first priority? And we're ready to take that plunge. I guess, like, is it that bad? Is it not that bad?
If you're trying to make it as a DJ, it probably is really cramping on your style.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if, like many of us, maybe you go to bed with Netflix on.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're able to keep like a traditional 9-to-5 job, that's probably going to curtail a lot of the activities that would make it so that having a child is completely disruptive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you're like stable enough that like the 9-to-5 can work for you.
Yeah.
Having a kid's not too far of a stretch.
Yeah. But would you say that making the jump from 2 to 4 was just or maybe it was just twins? Like that just
Twins
kind of
was a
turned up
lot.
the craziness.
Twins was a lot. And going from, I mean, a lot of people say, most normal people talk about the jump from 2 to 3, which we don't know anything about, but they say that's when it starts to feel a little less manageable.
Yeah.
Obviously 2 to 4 has been wild, but it always gets easier eventually.
Yeah.
Here we are 4.5 years later, feeling a little bit better than we did at 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And
you know, I can only speak from an auntie perspective, but your kids are such magic in my life and I crave being with them. And like, you know, if I haven't seen them in a while, I'm like, I need to see them. So I can't even imagine that multiplied on like a parent level. Like,
right. I love how much especially since we moved to New York, like randomly we'll be on our way to pick up and Courtney will be like, oh, Chandler's coming to pick up. And I'm like, oh, that's so fun.
It's so fun. It's been the greatest
Yeah, so
thing
we've been able to see your efforts to see them, and it's really heartwarming. And
I have to. So, okay. Back on the baby train.
A fun question to break it up.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sister-in-law are you hoping to not be left on a deserted island with?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my desert island meal, of course, spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, right. Well, you're going to want to
So
eat
what am
there.
I eating
Yeah.
on a desert? I'm eating spaghetti bolognese
Yeah.
on a desert island, but who do I not want to be eating it with?
Yeah.
Of the Bledsoe
Who do you want to be?
sisters.
Who would you not want to be stranded
I don't
with?
want to neg like that. I would rather, I mean, it wouldn't go over any better to choose the favorite one that I do want to be
Who do you think is more capable?
eating bolognese with.
Yeah, maybe capability, survival. Maybe from a
capability.
survival mindset.
Okay, for sure.
None of us.
Like Ash for botanical knowledge,
Sure,
for
sure.
plant remedies,
Yeah.
potentially even like maybe rudimentary electronic construction that we could signal for help. You got to
Yeah.
take Ash in that
Yeah, it's a
scenario.
brain power. It's sheer brain power with that one.
I feel like Lauren's determination, be like, we are getting off this island. Like, we are going to find a way. Like, let's lash those trees together. Let's
Yes.
go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Chan, I feel like being on the desert island with Chan, it would just be like, well, here we are. Let's figure out how to make it work. We're never leaving.
Yeah.
But let's just hunker down
Yeah.
here and make it enjoyable.
Be
Totally.
a positive can-do attitude.
Yeah, it's like sweep. I got you. I made you this broom
Yeah.
from palm fronds.
It's not gonna work super
Make
well.
sure you sweep where you walked in.
Yeah,
I don't want
that's
you
true.
bringing sand into this cave. Sweep it out.
It would be a living hell, a nightmare for sure.
McCall, I think, would be a similar. Here we are. Let's
Yeah.
make the most of it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Agreed.
an occasional like beeswax candle for the bolognese dinner.
Totally.
She would
Totally.
She would learn how to dip. Enough. There's a little bit of pioneer heritage left in McCall.
Well, McCall has served a mission as well, which
did.
none of us can say that we have done.
That's true.
So yeah, there's some. McCall can work harder than any of us. Probably.
She knows what it's like to be uncomfortable for many years,
Yeah.
basically. Unlike us.
in a row.
Yeah, in a row. Okay, another fun question.
Yeah.
We're a couple months away from a historic election. What would you do if you're president for the day?
Ooh, president for the day. Ooh, okay. So I have power to enact like a lot of laws or just maybe one or two big laws.
Yeah.
I think that it's wonderful. This is something that New York brought home to us. I love that this isn't actually, I wish I could have had a more lighthearted answer, but like, I love that New York schools like insist on feeding kids multiple times per day. And I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like being here versus in Utah where you see there are a few more instances to see people who you're like, oh, they might not have like a super secure food situation at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And the thought of a kid being hungry and being at school is heartbreaking. And so like they always talk about, oh, we want to do like a free nationwide school lunch program. For sure, I would support something like that. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe a flat tax. We just do like a 10% sales tax and then we do away with income tax. Just
Great.
take that off my plate.
Yeah. Love
Taxes are no fun, but
Yep.
you pay it as you spend. Seems like a great answer
like
to
it.
me.
Yeah,
like it.
love it. You have our vote.
You
for
have our
sure.
vote. Absolutely.
Okay, this is kind of a tricky situation someone was left in. They said, if your parents left their entire estate to you due to a broken relationship with a sibling, would you give the sibling their part or say, too bad, should have made different choices?
Say that exactly.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't just be like, well, let's just split it.
Right, because it's like
I
that wasn't
probably
your
wouldn't.
parents. Your parents didn't want that.
And like, I would rather have a little bit more money myself.
Free
know
school
what
lunch.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be a very, I can't even imagine like the trials of a situation like that.
Yeah.
What if 4 of you were in and 2 of you were out? Then what?
Sucks to suck.
Sucks.
Should have made better choices.
You should have made better choices.
No, I think it also depends on that sibling's life situation, your own assessment of
Yeah.
whether that was a fair thing or did you have a parent with a mental illness who like wasn't
Right.
really making good decisions. I honestly feel like it's
almost
up to your-
somebody has to be mentally ill. If things have gotten so bad, it's probably because somebody of
Yeah,
the two, the parent or the child, isn't fully functional.
I mean, no one's asking for my opinion, but I think that you have to make a moral assessment of your own. You know, like what is the right, did your parents do the right thing? Is this because like they were a terrible child? and a nightmare.
Like
or maybe they have addiction problems, or like there's something else where, you know, that money would just perpetuate a bad situation.
Right.
You know,
in which case you got the fallback. You're like, it's what dad wanted.
Yeah.
What mom wanted.
Exactly.
Sorry, can't do it.
I don't want that like bad juju of like, you know, not fulfilling your parents' wishes.
Yeah.
I have a fun one.
Great.
That I want Wyatt to answer. And maybe this kind of goes back to Deserted Island, whatever. I can't remember which one it is, but which sister would you have help bury a body with you? You had to bury a body. We're not going to say how this came about, but you have now this responsibility.
Any sister? I mean,
or maybe a brother, sister or brother.
The two in the room, I feel like it would for sure be Lauren.
For sure.
That's true.
I think Chandler
I would just break down.
would crack.
I would crumble so fast.
Yeah.
I would go turn myself in before I'd even helped.
You're like, have you ever, like Crime and Punishment? I don't know if you ever read it. It's dark, like Russian, whatever. But like, it's basically a person who commits a crime and then just like unravels because of it. That would be
I'm already unraveling and I haven't even committed a crime.
Exactly. That would be fully Chan. And even if it was I killed the body, but I'm like, I need help hiding this body.
Oh, no.
Too much of a burden.
No.
Lauren would like lie to the police. Like, she'd be like, fine, bring me in the polygraph. And then she would like go, and she would just be like, I gotta get centered. I gotta beat the polygraph.
She has the grit.
Yeah, I just feel like Lauren, and she's got enough of like anti-government sensibility. Feel like, first of all, they don't deserve to know. The person had it coming.
It's like my attitude towards my bishops when they're asking me about my chastity when I was at BYU. You have the right to lie when they don't have the right to ask. That was something I told myself and others when they would ask about it.
I never heard that. Wow.
Yeah.
Just a question just being lobbed over to you. You don't have to respond with the truth.
Exactly.
I love that mentality.
Exactly. Okay, great. I'm wonderful. I'm so glad we're recording
I need to go to the police station just for even having this conversation.
Yeah,
just go
like,
talk to them.
There's been some loose plotting going on in my family.
Am I good?
Okay, people want to know about marriage advice. Just like another thing that someone asked is how to show up in your relationship when you're tired and stressed. So people, they want to keep their unions together, right? They want to go the distance. What advice can you give them? It's pretty general.
Yeah. I would say if you want your union to go the distance, I mean, you do have to show up for each other. You just have to stay talking, right? I feel like any type of silence just tends to like grow. With kids, the kids are so draining that you can have not a lot left over for your partner. And it is really comfortable and easy to just like zone out and you just want to disengage from everyone. But if you like just take a walk around the block, just like a little habit of like, I think if you are talking with your spouse, you will stay united.
Stay connected.
Yeah. For me anyways. Other people are like more the silent type. I'm just going to like, I'll chit chat forever and Courtney will chit chat forever. We're both kind of motor mouths.
Yeah.
And so that's a real way in which we connect. And maybe, I guess, whatever the way in which this couple connects or any couple, whatever is their thing, whether it's mountain biking, go do that together. Like, make time for the things on which you connect.
Yeah.
In my life, that's dinner and talking about whatever is happening in our day.
Yeah. I like that advice.
Yeah, I love that advice.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And I do think, it can be when you're exhausted from a work day, from having kids, and then you combine the two, you can just want to be quiet and go on your phone. You want to like turn your brain off.
Just be doing reels for a little while after all the interjections of the day is such an alluring thing.
It's hard.
And you can still do it. You do some reels and then fire a few off to your spouse. Be like, wasn't that funny?
Yeah.
I think you have a 99th percentile appetite for chatter, I will say. Because like, Wyatt, your ability to want to connect with virtually everyone is really special. And I think it's one of the things that like makes you such a good person. Like if we're in a grocery store and you see someone that you knew in the 4th grade, you're walking over, hand on the shoulder, Jimmy.
You're excited to see that person.
Haven't seen you in 29 years. What's going on?
And you're genuinely like, what did you end up doing? Like, it's amazing.
Did you? It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think as Bledsoe sisters, we tend to more like hope we don't make eye contact and both register that we know each other, you know?
Is it because like the topics that are available to people who haven't seen each other are boring to you?
Yeah.
Or you don't want to be like, judged
I think
by
it's
that
an energy.
person?
Yeah, it's just a lot of energy
It's
to
energy.
like make a bunch of small talk and then try to extricate yourself.
And then I think it's like, and for me, I think there's almost going to be a like half-life after the interaction where I am just like, did I say the wrong thing? Did I seem like I didn't care? Like, I don't know. I just think I'll have a little bit of like post like self-flagellation, if that's the, just
no
like
self-reflection here.
Yeah.
Just like, did I say something dumb?
No, it has never
It's
been
in
a
the
thought.
past. It's I don't even, doesn't cross my mind again.
Oh, must be nice. Must be nice.
yeah, truly. So someone wants to know, what should I be looking for in a partner?
Good question.
And for me, I feel like what was, driving me through a lot of my youth was things that would lead me to a gay man.
Raw. Yeah.
Literally like a manicured, extremely gorgeous man.
But Wyatt, you always had a compass, You always, I feel like, have known the things to look for. So I think this is a good question for you.
Okay, sure. Well, I mean, so when I was dating around back in the day, I only had 3 criteria. And Courtney only met 2 of them. So she got like, that's like a D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, I wanted between 5 and 6 feet tall. I wanted brown hair and interested in current events.
5 and 6 feet. That's such a
I know.
Why was that?
I had broad those are broad criteria, right?
Yeah.
Interested
Wait,
in current
sorry. I
events.
was stuck on 5 to 6 feet tall because that's just like very normal. And then what?
Yeah.
No offense to anyone who's 4 feet tall, but wait. And then what were the other 2?
Interested in current events, brown hair.
Brown
That was it.
hair, yeah.
That was like, those were my loose guiding principles.
Let's drill down on the brown hair.
Yeah, I felt like this is an immature person.
Yeah.
No, but it seemed to me that brown-haired gals were a little more down to earth.
And I wouldn't say, would we say Courtney's down to earth?
Not,
I don't really know what.
I don't know. In some ways,
Yeah.
in some ways she is, right?
Yeah.
Courtney's definitely smart, and she's like on the current events front, like she's like with it. She cares about what's happening. She wants to discuss it, and she's capable of discussing it in a at least semi-informed way, an articulate way, certainly. Those were my criteria. They were very loose. And beyond that, what do you look for? Marry like the happiest person that you can tolerate and can tolerate.
Yeah.
Because I do tend to think that a lot of that is a little bit like kind of like genetic. It's just kind of like a baseline that people will revert to after the highs and lows of life. And so if you can find a person who's generally actually quite happy, good times, bad times, whatever's going to come up, that's where they'll be. And that's something that I value.
Yeah.
So the happiest person that will tolerate you and you tolerate them.
No, I think that's such good advice. And I remember, like, kind of along similar lines, one thing my dad said was like, look for someone who it's not all these crazy high highs, who it's a little bit more middle of the road. Because honestly, he was like, because if you get divorced, it probably would be a more chill divorce rather than like
marry the person you're going to have the most chill divorce with.
Seriously.
He's like, those people that are so great at first will be nightmares in the end.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that it's so true. Like in life, you just tend to go back to your baseline happiness.
Yeah.
No matter what happens to you.
Yeah.
No matter what house you're living in, no matter what you're wearing.
Right.
You tend to have the same happiness as you did in middle school.
Yeah. I think I heard this on a podcast, not yours, unfortunately. But yeah, they're like, you survey like lottery winners.
Right.
There's a spike, and then it just goes back to where it is. Like no matter the thing, you're back to your baseline within max like a few months.
Yeah.
Of course, we acknowledge that, there are people, they're struggling so much that that's not the case, right? So I don't want to underscore that.
Well, I think too, it's about like marrying someone who is well adjusted maybe, or I don't know. Like I think about like someone who, you don't experience these incredibly low, like it's nothing but high highs and low lows.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's also about marrying someone who you really feel like you can just talk to extremely honestly and openly. You can be your entire self around.
Yeah.
Like that is also, not marrying someone who you're enamored with their energy and vibe, but more it's like, you're fully comfortable,
Totally.
and who calls you when they say they're going to call you.
Yeah.
Who's just very trustworthy in almost a boring way.
Honestly, like I think too, like it's like about almost like mood stability. Like someone who you're not like necessarily, you're not always worried for how they're going to, what side of the bed they're going to wake up on that day. Like, I think that is like, that to me, I think would be a very taxing life.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, we have kind of a specific one. Should we get into it?
Yes.
Okay, so it says, me and my husband have been married for a couple of years, no kids, and over the past year-ish, my husband has been struggling with mood swings where seemingly out of nowhere he gets really self-critical and really negative about himself and life. When things are good, life is great. But then these moods will happen and the day or days are just kind of ruined. He'll withdraw or have angry outbursts, and it's taken a toll on me and my mental health. I often feel like I'm walking on eggshells to make sure nothing sets him off. I try to be patient and loving. Not gonna lie, sometimes I cry and freak out at him, which makes it worse. He started going to therapy, but dropped off the bandwagon because his job is really busy. He's a lawyer and works 60 to 70 hours a week. Any advice for navigating male angst and preserving my sanity would be appreciated. Sorry, this was so long.
No, that is a very thorough question.
Yeah.
So she said they have no kids, but they're just kind of living.
No kids, married for a couple of years, and the husband is just struggling with some mood swings.
Struggling with mood
swings. So kind of like on what we were just talking about.
Ooh. I mean, I know Chandler hates this topic, and maybe you do too. I feel so unqualified to give any sort of advice, but this is what I would say. This sounds like a person who is overworked and like maybe isn't doing the things that help them like recenter. Like, I can't imagine how you're going to find time for your hobbies if you're working 60, 70 hours a week, which is just some people's reality that comes with the job. But you still have to do the things that you like doing. And if you, for years on end, are denied the chance to do the things that you enjoy doing, and sometimes even if they get a moment off work, it's like, well, that's the day that we were going to go do the thing, you know?
And they're exhausted.
Yeah, it's just each person's, like, just your individual likes. Mm-hmm. You have to find at least a little bit of time for them. Upon reading that, maybe that's what I'm getting, but I don't know that that's the truth. And then how to help a person regulate that. They have to regulate that themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, for me, I hear 60, 70 hour a week, high pressure lawyer job. Maybe the solution is reconfiguring. Like, not every lawyer works 60 to 70 hours a week, you know, and maybe there's a situation where this person can have a less demanding job still as an attorney.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it literally sounds like, as someone who has had very intense bouts at work, just sounds like this person is a shell of themselves right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have been just continually like getting worse and worse. And this is like, they're almost like settling into like, wow, this is my life now. It's just like, I'm completely out of touch with where I want to be, or who, you know, literally just like taking care of yourself, you know, putting gas in your own tank.
Yeah.
And it sounds like something's got to change for that person to like, I don't know, that like, it's very hard to be in a relationship with someone who has no gas in the tank all the time. Right. You know, it's hard to like be partners.
No.
If they're like white knuckling it because it's like, I'm 3 years away from junior partnership, or I don't, you know, whatever rung of the ladder. If they're both anxious to get to it, then that I would think would make it easier. That would, I think, when she's trying to smooth things out and make everything easy for him, if they have a shared goal that they're essentially saving up for right now with these hard times, then that's fine. And that's a calculus that they can make. But if there's no seeming end in sight for this, that doesn't sound like a good arrangement. I would encourage them to take maybe your advice and look for some.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
look for a few off ramps.
There's there's definitely ways to sort of downshift, like find a way to downshift. Like, 100%.
I feel like personally, when it's your husband and it's a big stressful job, it's very different from my boyfriend who doesn't have a job or fine job, normal. It has all these mood swings. Like, I just feel like big stressful job, the mood swings, and like when you're in that kind of environment, it makes you a different person.
I mean,
changes your chemistry.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a terrible time at work. I mean, I think I remember saying to you at one point, like, this is like maybe the worst time of my life. I'm in the worst place I've ever been in my life. And I was in that stretch for probably 6 months. That was a temporary thing, and I had to downshift, and I found ways to downshift. And I would have been very sad if Ben was like, well, I don't actually want to be with someone who's moody, you know, or dealing with this. It's not about like, it's about like helping your partner figure out how long they're going to be in this period, and then, you know, if you can make it there or if you can downshift.
Right.
Okay, talking about work and the way we make our money, how did you get into entrepreneurship? Do you have advice for people just starting? Somebody wants to know.
Aspiring entrepreneurs. I mean, there are so many better people for this. I got into entrepreneurship because that was the only thing I'd ever seen. I'm like the son of an entrepreneur, but also nothing else was calling to me.
Yeah.
And so my first, besides, you know, Blockbuster, Jamba Juice, which I've taken endless heat for from Chandler.
Blockbuster bumpkin.
Like after those jobs, the first thing I did is I started a wedding rental company with one of my good friends, and we didn't have any money, and they probably still are, but they were just like mailing out like, you're pre-approved up to a $10,000 limit. And after you fill it out, you find out really what your limit is. We both filled out one of those credit card applications. We got $20,000, and we bought like some tables and some chairs and some linens, and we were just like, we're a wedding rental company now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it seems, looking back now, it's laughable, but we thrived. Like we didn't.
Were you in college or post college?
Yeah, I was post college, and it like the goings were slow, but it was working. Yeah, and it would have continued to work, and it would have continued to grow, if not for a few years into that track. I switched over. We had an opportunity with these 5K fun runs that were so viral at the time. These color runs, and that was an easy switch because, like, what could be funner than doing that?
Right.
Like, weddings were still kind of fun because it was a little bit artistic and it was just kind of like fast paced.
Yeah. You can leave work at work. You know, you show up, you do the job.
Leaving work at work is such a wonderful thing. And I know that entrepreneurship frequently doesn't mean that, right? Because you can be constantly strategizing about what's the next move we can make or whatever. But then I just followed that opportunity, and it was so fun to put those on for a few years. I mean, you definitely would have to, I would say, do not expect to find the income right off the bat. If you're leaving something that has pretty good income, you're not going to replace it right away.
Yeah.
Be patient with it. If you've never done anything entrepreneurial before, you're probably going to experience like this bump. Like you really have a work tolerance surge when you're working for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't matter if you have to work until midnight, you have to work past midnight. You don't care. It doesn't. It hardly feels like an ask at all.
Yeah.
When you're doing it for yourself, and so you'll have that surge, and hopefully you made a good choice on what that business could be. I mean, there are so many bad businesses and good businesses, and you kind of never know until you match your skill set with your idea and see if it works.
What happens?
Final question.
Oh, I thought I had a final question.
Well, should we each say ours?
I want Wyatt to answer this.
Okay, second to final question. Yeah. Favorite thing about being married into the Bledsoe family?
That's a good question. I really like being married into the Bledsoe family. I love that there is so much conversation. Again, it kind of goes back to conversation. Like there's so much conversation happening between you all and about each other, and just like the emotional involvement you all have with each other, I think is great. It's very fun to kind of, as an in-law, you're in a luxurious position because you can kind of dive in if you want, or you can just kind of stay on the shores if you want to, right? Because my family is much more calm, much more to each their own.
Much more calm. Interesting.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
we scrub calm, insert reserve, decorum.
No, but like, I mean, I think it's definitely an exciting, there's exciting things happening all the time.
It's an exciting family to be in.
Yeah. There's basically always something going on with somebody that we're all sort of like, or at least a small group of us are like convening to like chat about, try to troubleshoot.
We're very involved in each other's lives.
Yeah. Involved in each other's lives. But like what would be, I think, a really healthy way, because you're all so spread apart. Yeah. I think if you all lived as close together geographically as my siblings live, I think it would be disastrous.
Maybe.
Right?
Which is why
if you were all within a 5-minute drive of each other,
it'd be a lot.
It might be disastrous, or it might just rise up. It'd be an ascension, and it would, because
Lauren literally wants Ben and I to move in with her and Kagan if they were to get a place in the city. Lauren literally, she texted me yesterday, wouldn't this be so fun to share? Like a 2-bedroom. Anyway, I think it would be a disaster. I guess I just think not necessarily living close by each other, but living in the same apartment would be quite the experience.
Yeah, and it's not a great idea.
But it's a nice thought.
I agree. It's a nice thought. So yeah, so your answer is that you enjoy how like active of a family we are essentially.
Yeah. Active and involved in each other's lives you are. And I think there are a lot of big personalities in your family. it's fun to know those kind of people.
Yeah.
And just see what they're up to next. Like, what will they say next? What will they do next?
I mean,
I like it.
I think too, one thing is that we all actively like being together. Like we like going on vacations together. We like spending time together. Sometimes it can be a little chaotic, but I think that is like, I think that's something that is very fun about family.
Think we've been on a curve of less and less drama over the years.
Maybe less like DEFCON 5 drama, I would say.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I think so.
DEFCON
Still little things.
Well, yeah, I hear that. I mean, I hear from you two and from Courtney, like I've heard about the earlier eras of the Bledsoe family. And I feel like once you guys all reached adulthood and you were kind of forging your own paths, in-laws were coming into the picture, it very much sounds like it had to get to just like a more good vibes only kind of
totally.
feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like it used to be able, you all had to focus to like drill down on maybe the bad stuff. But once there are outside characters in, it's just like, hey, we got to keep the vibes up or else people are gonna fritter away. So
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment that we've all like had to like maybe just learn how to like deal with, you know, whatever, if an uncomfortable emotion arises, just like, okay, like I'll deal with this. I don't need to like blow up a dinner.
It's no longer that's going on the family dinner table is the bad thing. It's like, here's the good thing.
Right.
Let's dig into that.
Yeah, I definitely think there's been some maturing, some growth for sure.
Yeah.
And how apropos having Wyatt Grow on the podcast to discuss that growth.
It's a good last name for Courtney's flower business that she had when she was 27.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Grow.
So good.
Oh man, Wyatt, we love you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Love you both. Thanks for having me. I can't believe anyone wanted to seek my advice on anything, but
you'd be surprised.
It's been wonderful.
I'm flattered and I've enjoyed being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. We'll be back on Friday on Patreon.
Back on Friday. Blessings on your road.
Yeah, blessings on that road of yours. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
That's all for now, folks. Don't forget, give us a 5-star review, hit us up on Instagram at Popapologists, and we will see you next week, live every Wednesday.